All right, what's going on, everybody? Been a long time. Been a long time since we've done one of these, but this is a great fight for a beating the odds with Beeb. As we always say with beating the odds with Beeb, when you see a 50-50 fight on paper and the odds makers don't have it as such, then this is a great opportunity for the gamblers here. Uh, Dillian Whyte versus Alexander Povetkin, the rematch. Now, a lot of people are saying that Alexander Povetkin was really getting beat up bad in the first fight. Okay, Dillian Whyte knocked him down twice in the fourth round. But I thought Alexander Povetkin came out pretty strong behind his jab. He was able to work his way in. He was landing body shots. Both guys were landing decent body shots. But you could tell the thing about Alexander Povetkin is I think he's a more well-rounded, better skilled all-around, higher skilled type fighter as opposed to Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte is a one-punch knockout type guy. He likes to load up with the power shots. A lot of times he'll throw that lazy jab, and he tends to get hit over the top with the right hand because the jab is just kind of like a lazy push jab. And even in this fight, particularly in the first two rounds, you saw Alexander Povetkin be able to land that right over the lazy jab of Dillian Whyte, which allowed him to work his way in behind it. I think Dillian Whyte, more or less, is a mid-range guy. He's a mid-range hooker, as Dwyer likes to say. He's a big puncher, but primarily he's the big puncher with the left hook. The right hand is not bad, but the money punch is the left hook. Now, the money punch for Povetkin is the left hook as well, but he also has a pretty solid right hand. We saw him hurt people with the right hand in other fights. We've seen him score knockouts in other fights, particularly against Cedric Boswell. One-punch knockout, I believe, with that right hand. Or he hit him with that right hand, and it was a fight-changing punch, and he was able to finish him. So a lot of people were saying that, Dillian Whyte was having his way with Povetkin, but I still thought that Povetkin was quietly in that fight. He was still working his way into that fight. He was still picking up and looking at some of the mistakes that Dillian Whyte was making. Even though Dillian Whyte did, land a big left hook that put him down, stunned him with a right hand, but then knocked him down with a left hook. And then he also snuck a left uppercut in there. I thought Povetkin was able to get up, and he still had his legs underneath him. The beautiful thing about Povetkin is he's able to roll shots, does tuck his chin pretty well. I just think he all around, like I said, he's a more skilled fighter. I think he's a better defensive fighter. Guy had a great amateur career. He was an Olympic gold medalist, so obviously he knows how to fight. The big thing here is him being 41 years old. A lot of people are saying that he may fade down the stretch, but once again, Dillian Whyte has been known to fade down the stretch. He did it in the first Chisora fight. He did it in the Parker fight. And if, that second round knockdown, which I believe was caused by a headbutt, and the replay clearly showed that fight would have been a draw. I think that headbutt really affected Joseph Parker for the rest of the fight. And that's why I think that the fight played out the way it did. And Joseph Parker almost finished Dillian Whyte in that last round because, once again, Dillian Whyte does have a tendency to fade down the stretch. Big difference here, I think, is Alexander Povetkin is a more fluid combination puncher. He's a better he's a better inside fighter. He's an adequate outside fighter. He's a decent mid-range guy. But Dillian Whyte really isn't a good inside fighter at all. He's really not a good outside fighter at all. His main weapon is that mid-range area. He loves to, that's where he's the most comfortable, in that mid-range area, where Povetkin is adequate from everywhere, really, but his strongest position in the ring is being on the inside, where Dillian Whyte is definitely at a disadvantage. And I think as the fight wore on, you saw Povetkin get closer and closer and smothered Dillian Whyte's power. And he was able to squeeze off that short uppercut up the middle because Dillian Whyte was not in a position to counter that shot. He was not in a position to throw a punch to fight him off because, again, he's not a good inside fighter. So the odds in this fight are Dillian Whyte is a -400. Alexander Povetkin is a +280. So Dillian Whyte is a huge favorite here. But Povetkin is very live. A lot of people, again, concerned about the age, think he has a lot of miles on the tank. But again, he was landing a lot of good body shots. He was picking and choosing his spots, and he threw a. People want to say that uppercut was a lucky punch. No, he dropped down, and he had that little feint that he threw, tried to sell that left hook to the body, and Dillian Whyte reacted to it, opened up his hands a little bit, brought his elbow down, and pulled his right hand down a little bit as he brought his elbow to protect his midsection on the side there, and that created that opening for the uppercut. And you got the sense that Povetkin was trying to create the opening for that punch as the fight was going on. You could see how he was trying to close the gap, And the problem with Whyte also, not only does he load up with shots, throws that one shot at a time, but also he tends to be very repetitive with his attack patterns. He's very predictable offensively. You know that he's trying to set up that left hook. Okay. A lot of times that right hand that he throws is a throwaway punch, but he uses it to set up the left hook. Jab's not a great weapon. It's like a rangefinder, lazy type jab. Just tries to touch you with it. Doesn't really pull it back and snap it back, snap it out or snap it back. So it creates a lot of opportunities for the right hand for his opponents. So the big difference here, I think, is because you have Povetkin, who's the more highly skilled fighter, the better technical fighter. The technical guy is the guy who usually has the advantage in the rematches because he's the guy that picks up on the mistakes better. He's able to see the mistakes of his opponent from the first fight. You could see as that fight wore on, Povetkin was starting to figure out all this guy's doing is trying to set me up for that left hook, and he's trying to load up with it. The jab is lazy, so I know I can come over the top with the right hand. I know once I get inside, I could smother this guy's power, and he's very ineffective when I'm on the inside. Obviously, like I said, he got caught with 2 flash knockdowns, but another issue with Dillian Whyte is if he can't get you out with that one shot, he's not the greatest finisher in the world. He hurt Anthony Joshua with that half hook, half uppercut with the left hand in their fight. Couldn't finish him. Hurt Parker with the left hook. Couldn't finish him. Knocked Povetkin down twice with the left hand. Couldn't finish him. Now, in the Chisora fight, it was a one-punch knockout. But in the first fight, I thought Chisora eked that fight out. I thought Chisora won that fight against Dillian Whyte. So the thing is with Dillian Whyte is if he can't hurt you and get you out of there with that one shot, he's not really good at finishing you off. And he showed that he wasn't able to finish Povetkin off because Povetkin was able to recoup. He was able to roll the shots effectively. He was able to come back with his own body shots. He was able to punch with Dillian Whyte. So I think that Dillian Whyte can only fight one way. He's a slugger. He's a mid-range hooker, as Dwyer likes to say. He's always looking to set up that left hook, and he's always just throwing that one punch at a time. And I think that because of that, I think the guy who's more fluid with his punching, a guy who puts his shots together better, a guy who's more creative with his offense, which I believe Povetkin is, a guy who can make adjustments as the fight goes on, whereas Dillian Whyte seems to get worse as the fight goes on. He never really finishes the fight as strongly as he started it. Even in the Oscar Rivas fight, he lost the last 2 rounds in that fight. The Parker fight, he lost the last 2 rounds. And he was losing rounds in the second half of the Parker fight. So as the fight goes on, people want to say that it's going to be a disadvantage for Povetkin because of his age, and they question his stamina. But you also have to question Dillian Whyte's stamina. Even though he's 7 pounds lighter for this fight, will that be an advantage? Will that make him weaker? Will that make him as strong with his punches? Will he be able to hit as hard? Will he be able to deal with Povetkin on the inside being lighter? And he's not a guy who moves a lot. He's not a guy who uses a lot of foot movement. He's not a defensive specialist. So maybe the weight will help him with his stamina, but it could also take away from his power and his strength, particularly as he has to try to contain Povetkin on the inside when Povetkin gets inside on him, which he's really successful at doing. He has the ability to do that, and he has shown the ability to do that, particularly in the first fight. And that 5th round definitely showed how he could get it real close and smother Whyte's power. Omar Rodriguez says, is it fair to say that anybody that can get inside on Whyte will have some success? 100%. Anthony Joshua was not a great inside fighter. We saw against Carlos Takam how he was, he was looking a little sloppy on the inside. Even Povetkin landed a big right hand against Joshua and really hurt Joshua, rocked him. I actually thought Povetkin was winning that Joshua fight up until the point before he got stopped. I had him up. Thought he was holding his own. And Anthony Joshua himself warned Whyte about how good of a fighter Povetkin is. He's a dangerous guy. So the one caveat here is the age. 41 years old. Could he get old overnight? Could this be the one fight where he just turns old overnight? Looked good at the weigh-in. Looked good in the first fight. Not much time in between fights. He did have COVID. I had COVID. I mean, COVID is okay. Is not a death sentence. If you're a healthy individual, if you're a guy who takes care of yourself, you don't have any pre-existing conditions, you should be fine by COVID. So that, some people have mentioned that, he's recovering from COVID. How good a shape will he be in? Will there be any residual effects from the COVID? I just don't believe so. So I'm going to be honest with you. I think psychologically, Povetkin's definitely going to have an edge over Whyte because he did knock him out in the first fight. And Whyte's also going to be saying to himself, I hit this guy with my best punches and I couldn't get him out of there. He got up and he was able to take me out. That's definitely a blow to somebody's confidence. Definitely a blow to a big fighter's, to a big punching heavyweight's confidence. We saw the look on Deontay Wilder's face in that 12th round when he knocked down Tyson Fury and Tyson Fury got up. He had an incredulous, surprised look on his face like, what the fuck? I hit him with everything I have and he got up. So that's going to be in the back of Whyte's head as well. It's going to be in the back of his mind, knowing that I hit this guy with 2 of my best shots that normally would have taken people's heads off, and I could have gotten a 10 count. Usually if I land those shots on another fighter, this guy got up and still came back punching against me. So I think Povetkin is a lot more crafty than people give him credit for. I think he's a lot more sophisticated offensive-wise than a lot of people give him credit for. Fights behind a high guard, catches shots on the gloves pretty well, tucks his chin, rolls shots. And Whyte landed the best shots he possibly could, and he couldn't get Povetkin out of there. But Povetkin landed his best shot, put him to sleep, where the account wasn't even required. So I think Povetkin is going to win this rematch. I think he's going to knock Dillian Whyte out again. I think it's going to go a little bit longer than 5 rounds. I think Whyte may come out a little bit more tentative because now he knows Povetkin can hurt him. And if he's lighter now, if he decides all of a sudden he's going to try to be a guy who boxes on the move, which is not his game, if he's going to try and recreate himself overnight for this fight, I have a hard time believing he'll be successful at doing that. So at the end of the day, I'm going to take the plus 280. I'm going to take the plus 280 with Alexander Povetkin. And I think he's going to win by a 9th-round stoppage in this fight. I think he stops him in 9 rounds. But I'm just going to, you're getting plus 280. Just take Alexander Povetkin for the win. In case it does go to a decision, we want to be able to win on both ends of the bet, decision or knockout. I think he's going to knock him out, but why not play it on the safe side and just take him to win straight up with the plus 280. All right, guys, beating the odds with Beeb, back again. It's been a long time. I think Povetkin is live here. I think this is a great fight. It's a great value play here. And, I'm going to go with Povetkin with the plus 280. I'm a little surprised that Povetkin is that big of an underdog here, but a lot of people believe in Whyte. It is what it is. All right, till next time, Beeb is out. Talk to y'all soon. Have a great day. Beating the odds with Beeb returns. We're back. And hopefully we can do some more of these. There hasn't really been competitive enough fights where we could do these. There hasn't been any value bets that we could make here. Unfortunately, in the sport of boxing, there's you have these guys who are gigantic favorites, and you can't lay that money on them. It's just not worth it. It's not worth the risk. But this is definitely a value bet here. I think Povetkin will win this fight, and at plus 280, you can't go wrong here. All right, Beeb is out. Talk to y'all soon. Peace. Have a great day. Take care, everybody.